The President's cybersecurity executive order calls for a multi-agency approach. Nothing to me says fast and effective like multiple government agencies getting involved. The government, I don't even think, has a protectionary role on cybersecurity. They're not good enough at it. They can't deliver the mail, and we want them delivering cybersecurity? No, I don't think so. You want mandate, and I keep saying mandate because their business was doing great before the New York Times story. And there was another attack recently where Mandate was hired and they cleaned it up instantaneously. Wall Street Journal. You were talking about great advertising, great earned media. They're doing fine now. Why would you want to have the DHS? Why would you want Janet Napolitano handling this when you got Mandate kicking rear end and taking names all over the place on this very issue? You hire them. I don't want the government involved at all unless it's absolutely necessary, and 95% of the time in a law enforcement only capacity. New York Times to AT&T to Mandate, done. No government, solved. Which is, by the way, a maxim for life. No government, solved. Everything moves faster than government in the private. Everything in the private sector moves faster than government. Internet moves faster than anything for two reasons. One, it's technological, so it's faster, and two, it's so new that we're advancing. The economy of an emerging third world country grows at ridiculously high rates because it's new and there's so much room to grow. The internet's new, relatively. It's deregulated because in '96 with the Communications Act, they said it's so new we're not going to touch it and see what happens. Shocker, when you don't regulate something, it grows. So it's been growing much, much faster than the rules that pertain to it. This is why we need very background regulations. There's a way to set this up in a way that actually accounts for and allows for the internet to grow in any direction it wants to innately, naturally, and still have the basic principles in place. There really isn't a problem because the private sector is handling it. The problem is Obama's executive order breaches that system. It sets up, it's not a gushing leak. It's a slow leak that will slowly crumble the wall between private data and public data. And we can't have that. Because of the executive order, it's even more imperative that we write the right bill. CISPA is not the right bill. From an effectiveness standpoint and from a firewall data protection standpoint, you gotta undo that executive order because it sets up long-term problems of who gets the data first and who makes the initial call on cybersecurity, and to set up this protection, because there does need to be some litigation protection for the companies for turning over data. The chief government role in cybersecurity is waiting for the private sector to solve the hacking problem. The solvers go to the government and say, we need a warrant to give you data because we've identified who hacked us. And then they go to the judge. The judge says, yes, they get this prescribed finite amount of data. And that's then and only then does the government come in. Then and only then the government says, okay, we've got this information now. Let's go prosecute Anonymous, or let's go prosecute the Chinese military, or whoever's doing the hacking. I don't want the government involved in the solution from a data protection standpoint and from a competency standpoint. They're not competent enough to do it, and I don't trust them with the data. The government never abuses data. We have to be as careful as we possibly can. Look, we give our private data over to the private sector all the time. Your internet service provider right now has your credit card information, access to every email you sent, and website you visited. Have they breached that trust? No, first and foremost, there's a free market reason not to. If they do, you're going to fire them and hire someone else to provide you internet service. Beyond that, it makes no fiscal sense for them to do it. And with the exception of a couple companies, Google, there's no economic advantage for them to do that. They're not in the information stealing business. They're in the internet service providing business. And they'd rather take the time otherwise spent combing your websites and emails and build a better network and provide better service, et cetera, et cetera. The government constantly wants more data on you because they constantly want to lord over you and can complete the conversion from citizens to subjects. Uncle Sam, I want you to keep your hands off my data.